I was not expecting to see something like this. This is like a dinosaur.
In the last 3.5 years, we have sailed halfway around the world on our 37-foot boat, Florence, exploring new countries, new cultures, and sharing our adventure along the way.
In this episode, we dodge through reefs to the Komodo National Park and seek out its most famous resident.
We're currently weaving our way through some reefs, but you can see from our chart plotter how poor the charts actually are in this area, so they can't be relied on at all. At the moment we're actually supposed to be over the top of a reef, but we're actually in 40 meters of water. The reef itself is about 500 meters that way.
So instead of relying on the charts, we use Google satellite images. In fact, the Bing satellite images are better for here. Occasionally you have to sail around a cloud because you can't see what's underneath it, but we use an app, I think it's called Ovital or Ovital. A lot of the cruisers use this. It allows you to download an area of satellite images onto your phone or tablet, and because you've got the GPS in the phone, it plots your position on that image. And so we actually use this to navigate through the reefs, and it's much more accurate than the charts. And also we always make sure we're wearing polarized sunglasses because it makes it much easier to see the reefs.
So far we've been travelling through areas of Indonesia where they don't get many tourists and it's very difficult to get to. But from here we're now sailing down to Flores, Sumbawa, Lombok and then Bali, which are much more accessible. So it's going to be interesting to see how different they are.
I'm going to get to see a Komodo dragon.
Sailing in the gentle breezes and calm waters of this area can be idyllic.
So the sun's just coming up and we can now see the coast of Flores in front of us. We reduced sail during the night to slow down so that we arrive here in daylight. We've got to wait a little bit longer now until the sun is high enough for us to see the reefs to get into the island that we want to go to. We're heading to an island called Gili Bodo, which the pilot book says is pretty isolated, not much there, apart from a beautiful sandy beach, coconut trees and some monkeys as well. So that sounds pretty good to us.
coming into the area now where the trade winds die off and the winds become lighter and much more inconsistent. So we've luckily got within 6 miles of Flores, so we shouldn't have to motor too far today, but getting along this coastline is going to start to become a bit more difficult. The water here is crystal clear, warm, and there's a sand bottom just 6 metres below Florence, creating the perfect swimming pool. There's only one problem with this idyllic anchorage. Last night the wind died and it got really rolly because Florence turned side onto the swell. So this morning we're going to set a stern anchor and see if that helps.
The stern anchor holds Florence round so her bow is pointing into the waves, thus stopping the rolling.
That's better. No more rolling.
What more could we ask of an anchorage? A beautiful calm bay, turquoise water for swimming, a sandy beach to walk along, and of course, a hill to climb up.
This island here, Gili Bodo, is a real contrast to what we've seen so far in Indonesia. Everywhere else has been hustle and bustle and noise, which is brilliant. It's a great cultural experience, but we were ready for a bit of a break. And here, there's nobody else here apart from some few other yachts. It's quiet, nice, shallow, sheltered anchorage, ready for a bit of a reset before we dip back into the culture of Indonesia.
This is the kind of idyllic anchorage where it's easy to while the days away. Walking, swimming, socialising with other sailors, and catching up on video editing and blog writing. Easy, quiet anchorages like this are particularly hard for us to leave. We only planned to stay here for 2 nights, but we enjoyed it so much that we stayed for 5.
We've thoroughly enjoyed Gili Bodo, but now it is time to move on.
We've had a little bit of a wait for the wind to fill in, but now we are sailing towards the Komodo National Park. It's an absolutely gorgeous day for sailing, and it's only about 10 miles to our first island.
This is armchair sailing. Not much wind at the moment. When there's not much wind and we're sailing upwind, we can do a better job helming than the electric autopilot or the wind vane. And also it's quite pleasant to do so. Actually sail the boat for a change.
So Matt was a bit worried about sailing in Indonesia because he thought we'd have no wind and be motoring all the time. How are you finding it so far, Matt?
I hate motoring, and we haven't really had to motor yet. We've been here for what, a month and a half?
Yeah.
So it's been pretty good going. We've used 26 litres of diesel since we left Cairns, which is not very much at all.
And a couple of thousand miles away.
Oh yeah, a good couple of thousand miles away. And we're just coming into the lighter wind part of Indonesia now, so we are drifting along. Well, we're sailing along nicely. Florence sails very well in light winds. We've got 6 knots of wind, but we're managing 3 or 4 knots of boat speed, so I think we've got a little bit of current helping us as well.
Even though we're cruising, we're racers at heart, so we can't resist tacking on the wind shifts to take the most efficient path to our destination. The international rules for avoiding a collision at sea don't seem to apply in Indonesia, so we just try to keep out of everybody's way. A quick scramble up Sabaya Casil's hill gave us a fantastic view over the national park. It was a great way to get an idea of where we were going next. We've had some spectacular sunsets recently in Indonesia. Another beautiful destination, another boat job. What are you up to, Matt?
And the primary winch started squeaking when we were sailing here yesterday. Shouldn't have squeaks, so probably just needs a bit more grease, I thought. And of course most boat jobs turn into longer jobs because as soon as you try to take it apart there's one pin that won't come out, which probably means the whole thing needs to come off so I can knock it out from the bottom. Such is life on a boat.
Then it was on towards Rinca Island, which is host to what these islands are famous for.
There is just enough wind to be ghosted along today. We've got the spinnaker and the main up, making 2.5 to 3 knots, but in these conditions that's enough. We're not motoring. We've got all day to get there.
This is quite a popular anchorage because you can go and see the Komodo dragons. So all the tour boats come here and the winds just switch through 180 degrees and it is chaos. However, after Sydney Harbour, this is pretty relaxed.
How many boats have we had to fend off so far?
Oh, we've fended off 2 so far, but they're now over there. And I think these guys are just going to clear us. The wind swinging through 180 degrees means that all the anchored boats also swing through 180 degrees on their anchor chains.
At least we know that this evening it's all going to get peaceful again and most of these boats are going to head back to Labuan Bajo.
Everyone's really friendly and these boats are so much nicer to look at than a standard plastic modern one.
We even spotted one earlier that was called Florence 2.
The time has come to find the most famous residents of the Komodo National Park.
best time to see these creatures is early morning, so we're up early to go hunting.
Hey dude, how's it going? Come on, do this.
At 7 a.m, most of the tour boats are yet to arrive.
This is Rinca Island. We have to go and find a guide before we can go hiking around the island because the Komodo dragons are dangerous. So we're just heading up to the ranger station, see if we can find somebody.
This is our guide, Safi, a park ranger who's been trained to keep us safe from the dangerous Komodo dragons. We set off along the path under strict instructions to stay behind Safi at all times.
We were lucky to have a small group for the hike, just us and a couple from one of the other boats on the rally. The saliva of the dragons is highly toxic, so we would die if we were bitten by one. The dragons can move at 20 kilometers per hour if they want to, and they stalk prey such as water buffalo, so we would definitely count as prey to a hungry dragon.
The dragons will eat pretty much any animal on the island, so these monkeys have to keep a careful lookout to avoid becoming lunch. Even these huge water buffalo are not safe. Well, that's the first one we've seen, but to be honest, I expected them to be a bit bigger. They're just a bit like the goannas that we've been seeing in Australia, about a metre and a half long.
Safi promised us he would find a much larger dragon. Safi has spotted some tracks of a large dragon and swiftly stepped off the path to follow them.
Dragon poo. We're on the right track.
So this is a buffalo poo, but it's got a dragon paw print in the middle of it.
Found a female. Safi has told us that she's protecting her eggs, so we can't get too close. She's keeping a very careful eye on us. She's also drooling, which is a little disconcerting.
She is big, but Safi is still not satisfied. We are after a much bigger one. On we go.
I was not expecting to see something like this. This is like a dinosaur.
Okay, that first one was just a baby. The adults are at least 3 meters long. They're awesome. We've heard from one of the other guides that there's been a kill on the other side of the island, and the dragons are gathering there to feast. So we're making our way through the bush to see if we can find them.
We're just coming up to where there's a buffalo which has died, and all the Komodo dragons are having a feast. There's loads of them.
There's not much of the buffalo left. There's just a few bones, and the Komodos are fighting over the remaining pieces and like swallowing them whole and then wrestling between them. It's crazy to watch.
That is the remains of the buffalo. Not much left of that.
They're only really active first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening, so we're really lucky to see this, and they actually only eat once every month, so this is really rare.
Next time, we stay on in the Komodo National Park and dive beneath the waves to have a look at why this is also known as a world-class diving destination.
We want to say a special thank you to our star patrons:
Alan Becky,
Kate and Peter Atkins,
Robin Reamer,
Joshua Baxter,
and Roger Wank. We love reading all of your comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to catch the next one.